Speed, pace, momentum, velocity. Our world is increasingly fast and our culture is immediate. Everything moves quickly. Moving your money shouldn't be any different. With Gravity, you can buy and sell Bitcoin instantly. We're building the Bitcoin bank of the future today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Crypto Time. My name's James Coughlan and I'm joined with my usual co-host, Antonio Shillingford. How are you today, mate?
I'm doing rather fine. How about yourself?
Yeah, good as always. Looking forward to kicking into prominent subjects that have been kicking up in terms of news and media. There's been a really interesting article that's actually popped out from CoinGeek. So without further ado, let's kick straight into this episode and let's have a look at what's been said. So the title of the article was How Bitcoin SV Will Control the New Data Economy, which is a really exciting title. And actually, it's great to see the person that's written this title, written this actual article, go into so much depth and detail into exactly how they see this operating, how they see this going forward. You and I today are not really going to go too much into the way the articles put it. We're just going to pick out the points that we found interesting around it and really just kick around those points. So, the use of data on Bitcoin will not only be a technical decision, it will be an economic decision. The new disruptive use cases that will arise opens up new markets for users and businesses looking to utilize the benefits of storing and retrieving data on the blockchain. Very big statement and very good, and certainly does fit in the box when it comes to BSV. They then go on to say, to have such an ambitious goal to disrupt every single industry by aiming to have every bit of data on-chain, it's important to know that the value storing data on the blockchain is derived from using one single global ledger, like how there is only one internet. I think that's a really nice example. You know, when we click on the internet, we know that it's the same protocol, whether, for example, we're accessing it through Google Chrome or Safari or wherever it may be, it is the same thing at the end of the day. And what they're alluding to here is doing the same thing around cryptocurrencies. I don't know if there's something you want to add around that.
Yeah, and it just talks about the concept of what Bitcoin really is and the way that people can envision it moving forwards, because it's not just a simple payment mechanism. It is literally something that will revolutionize the way that we experience pretty much everything on this planet. So it's to that scale.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way of putting it. I think it's a great way to look at it when we do look at these options and see how it works, to know that we have a operating system that has a capacity that we've seen from obviously what's been pushed out through the CoinGeek event and what we've seen thus far up until this stage with BSV has been incredibly encouraging to know that they have the scale to be able to handle that kind of information that's going there. Yeah. And not only that, they can have the capacity to do it all under one roof, which is BSV. I know it's a stupid kind of option and it's not directly correlated, but who wants to be standing outside of Starbucks with Costa Coffee Coins, right? What we want is one utility under one roof where we can go and do everything we need to do under one space. And that certainly can be derived and used from BSV, which I find very encouraging.
And what it does do, like I said, it does revolutionize the current existing business models that we have in place at the moment, no matter what the business is. But not just that, with these new foundations and new possibilities like microtransactions, which we'll go into a bit more detail later on in the article, or later on in the episode even, it literally creates a new foundation for people to create new and amazing businesses, concepts that literally we can't conceive at the moment.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Craig said and what we said in our last CryptoTime episode when we did the live version at CoinGeek 2020, it's all about him looking to find people that are going to go out there and actually build something that we never thought was possible before, something that utilizes the tiniest of microtransactions to make this system actually work. Yeah. Things that we can never believe were possible before can now be possible. And Craig's challenge to the actual community was go out there and build something that he could never have dreamed was possible. Not only that, but add function and utility to help people that are out there as well. And I think that was a really powerful message that we took from that.
Yeah, and one of the concepts that it was from an interview that I was actually watching on YouTube a couple of days ago, and blockchain literally fixes a few of the issues that sort of technology will have. And what the technology basically is pretty much having a lens implanted in your eye. Now, we have the Google glasses, where you have a camera on it and it can record everything that's happening.
Never really took off though, did it?
Never really took off. partially because the glasses were a little bit geeky.
What are you trying to say? You're going to call me Four Eyes next?
Yeah, pretty much. But not just that. Now it's getting to a stage where you have people that have built the technology where you can literally implant these things into your eye, which will allow you to record absolutely everything. So now you're talking about all your intimate family experiences. You can literally have that all stored where you can go and access that. Now, how we would initially go about doing a business model like that is you have the technology, implant it into people's eyes. Now, of course, it's recording all of your intimate moments and all of your private moments. Now, it would have naturally have gone to the cloud before, which is data that individuals don't own. And of course, with that comes a huge, huge security risk because we've seen these companies being breached left, right, and center. Now, imagine if people can actually access that sort of data.
Not only that, but I may be wrong, but I believe somewhere in the T's and C's when it comes to like the Google Cloud and things like that, they actually have the ability of being able to look at whatever's in their cloud at any point, right? And I'm not 100% sure exactly what the wording is through the T's and C's, but I believe it's something along those lines. And to think that actually they could actually implant something in your eye. And just to put this in perspective, just on the terms of like eye surgery, started out with obviously the laser side of things where they were doing that. Now what they can do is make a small incision on the side of the eye, slip in a new lens and replace the old lens that sits behind it. So it really does seem very feasible what you're saying because the technology in essence of making the surgery happen is already there. They already have got to that stage where they can perform it, but putting that technology in, I don't think is going to be that much of a bigger step from the blended vision type style of operation that they're already doing.
And now what we're effectively going to have is, as opposed to people being able to store that to the cloud, you'll be able to store that to the blockchain. The blockchain allows you to own your own data, meaning that third parties can't take it and then sell it on to other third parties. Now, that is such an important step because a business model like, for example, implanting a camera and technology into your eye now becomes feasible. Whereas before it wasn't feasible because I could be sitting there with my missus and with the old model, I'm like, hold on, I can't look because everyone else gets to see.
Imagine what El Chapo must be like. He must be like this constantly if it was to happen. But yeah, sorry, we digressed away a little bit from the article. Let's head back into it. So we were just talking about obviously it being on the internet and being a light comparison to the internet and how we only have one. Bringing it back round, having information on multiple ledgers not only makes the data fragmented, but it also destroys the economic security model that incentivizes miners to earn a profit, which keeps the network secure. This is also a driving factor in keeping the cost predictably low and continuously dropping as the ledger grows in transactional throughput and density. Really, really good stuff when it comes to that. Now, what they've actually put below this is a fantastic chart. Now, this chart basically has the main algorithms of SHA-256 behind it, which is obviously interesting, or not algorithms, but protocol of SHA-256, which is behind it. So a lot of
the metrics behind it.
Exactly that. So hashing function, SHA-256 is obviously the same for BTC, BCH, and BSV. Block size limits, we've got 1 megabyte blocks on BTC, 32 megabyte blocks on BCH, and then unlimited on BSV. So we can see there's a sizable jump between 1 megabyte to 32 megabytes, but when we get to unlimited, what does that really mean in terms of tangible use cases, in terms of what we can actually do with it? Well, what they run into a little bit lower down is actually the average transactions per second, or the maximum transactions per second, rather, that can be achieved through these networks. Bitcoin's achieving 7. Nowhere near where it needs to be, working on the basis that global payment providers need to sort of be up to 20, 40,000 per second to actually sustain global transactions as it stands today. We know that this doesn't work as an electronic cash, as Satoshi put out in the white paper itself. Same thing when it comes to BCH, because we're looking at 160 transactions per second. Again, it's a sizable increase from what we're seeing from BTC, but it's nowhere near the level that we need to see to be able to run all of the transaction throughputs. Not only that, but have all these fantastic applications that have been built on top of BSV to be able to model and run all of this stuff as well. So when we're talking about BSV, now that we've removed the block size limit, we've got 10,000 plus transactions that we can handle per second. And like we said, as more and more information comes into the space and more people start using it, miners have the option to obviously increase that level so they can put more transactions through per second at the will of the demand of the people, which I think is a very, very cool stance to be at.
Yeah, and why I took the time to explain the model of the camera in the eye is because you need to understand that the foundations need to support ideas like that. So, for example, on BTC, you have transactions per second, and not just that, the op return data capacity. Now, just from the concept that I was explaining before, BTC, you can't do it on BTC. BCH, the exact same thing. You can't do it on BCH. The only model that you can basically do it on is BSV.
Yeah, and then you add into the mix things like EHR data, which was a massive announcement at the last CoinGeek event, which are talking about putting billions of on-chain transactions on the network itself, plus what you're talking about there, plus all of the transactions from A to B, and just in terms of transferring value, you can see how the numbers really pick up and ramp up quickly, and that cannot be sustained, obviously, through what's happening at the moment. So I think that's a very, very interesting point that you've made there.
To just go a little bit further down on average daily transaction fees or transaction fees in general. Now, transaction fees need to be exceptionally cheap because the halvening event is going to be something that literally exposes this completely. Of course, we have the halvening happening in a bit longer than about a month's time. Now, with the halvening, it is going to expose a lot of these other coins. And when I say expose these other coins, I'm talking about BTC and BCH. Now, that is where transaction volumes and density come into play, because you need complete token economics. It can't just incentivize one particular area.
Of course.
Because if you're just focusing on one area, negligence is happening in the other. Meaning, for example, the miners are no longer incentivized. High transaction fees. Now the users are no longer incentivized. So everyone needs to be incentivized to make sure that you have a unified ecosystem.
I think that really does bring us back to that same age-old saying that I've always said, which comes to the art of a good deal. The art of a good deal is both parties walking away feeling okay. So in essence, the users know that they're okay to pay the transaction fees, providing they're getting the right service and the right things from it. And also the same thing applies obviously for the miners. They want to obviously earn out of this, but it needs to be in a capacity where it's amicable and agreeable for everybody that's using the network. So I think that's a really powerful point to finish up on the transaction side of things. What I wanted to do now was just basically finish up this article in relation to the major points that they put afterwards. We're not going to go into all of the paragraphs of as what they've exactly said, but what we will do is look at the titles of what they've said there and maybe provide some context on a couple of them. So immutable, secure, and serverless data storage forever. Very, very powerful statement there. Privacy, ownership, and monetization of personal data. New business models that will disrupt the giants of today. Now, how do we mean and what do we mean by that statement? I think that Netflix is a perfect example when it comes to this.
Facebook, Instagram, Google.
Many, many different ones out there. And what we see at the moment is Netflix only has a certain global scope. What they want to do is obviously expand across to everybody and allow everybody to use it. Netflix is certainly a company which could benefit operating on top of a system like BSV, the true Bitcoin that's out there. And I think that's something that we should glean and we should take from this as being a massive positive, knowing that going forward, giant companies are very, very much incentivized to move across, because this is going to help their revenue streams. Not only that, but it's going to help people across the globe that want to use that content and use that content going forward. We've also got MetaNet. MetaNet is the successor to the internet. We've got patents tie all of this together for enterprise to focus on building. The patent side of things, again, is a huge, huge part for me. Knowing that obviously the coin has the right scalability, not only that, but actually performs in a very, very, trustworthy light where people can see exactly what's happening with the blockchain at all times. But to actually come to a view that they also have this all patented and all really protected going forward, knowing that this really for us is the right blockchain to be involved in, gives me a lot of confidence knowing that those patents are actually on the back of it. And I'll never forget that statement that Craig Wright made when we were at a conference not too long ago. not the CoinGeek one, where he turned around and said that when it comes to actually these patent side of things, when it comes to competitors, IBM could be seen as a competitor. How many blockchain specific patents does Craig feel that they actually have out there that could really cause a problem? Only 2. Yeah. And when it comes to Craig, he's got over 1,400 filed. I think we were talking about looking to have up to 6,000 at one point, in terms of actually having all of these patents there. But he's got a very sizable chunk actually already approved. This isn't one of these short-term games where you can go out there, put a patent out and have it approved the next day. This is something that can take years to actually put there. Now, what is very encouraging to see from my side is that Craig has been playing this long game for quite some time now, and it's actually very much paying off for people that have followed him.
And just extracts from the article, just a little tiny correction. 200 patents have already been granted, 800 applications are currently pending, and he's done 1,450 papers that have already been logged, which then can result in around about 6,000 patents. So that is a huge number.
Yeah, I think that's good to clear that up, because it can get confusing when it comes to all this stuff. But to know that he obviously has all of this stuff in the pipeline is absolutely fantastic and very, very encouraging. I think that's actually a really nice positive note to actually wrap this episode up on. But as always, guys, we really do love it when you hit that comment section up. If you can tell us what you think in terms of what is the best blockchain to be building global enterprise on, we'd be very interested to see whether you agree that that's BSV or not. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you are enjoying the content which is coming from Bitstocks at this moment in time, please hit that like, subscribe and notification button so you can see the latest and greatest coming from us. Bye for now.
Peace and love.